A top aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin has openly accused Western nations of using Ukraine as a tool to wage a proxy war aimed directly at weakening Russia's power and influence. The allegation, which has drawn international attention, was made by Valentina Matviyenko, the chair of Russia's Federation Council, one of the most powerful and influential figures in Russian politics. In a sharp statement, Matviyenko claimed that Ukraine will, at some point, realize that its conflict was not self-driven but was cynically engineered and carefully orchestrated by Western countries for their own strategic interests. According to Matviyenko, Russia remains deeply committed to achieving peace, but only a peace that guarantees long-term security and ensures that no future threats can ever emerge from Ukraine against Russian territory. She went on to stress that Russia does not view the ongoing conflict as a war with Ukraine itself, but rather as a confrontation where NATO and the West are using Ukrainian forces as instruments to fight Russia indirectly. Matviyenko added that, in time, Ukrainians would come to understand the true nature of these events, realizing how the West cynically exploited them in an attempt to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia. She concluded that this understanding would eventually pave the way for future reconciliation between Russian and Ukrainian people, once the truth of the situation becomes undeniable. Valentina Matviyenko made these statements during an interview with the Russian newspaper Moskovsky Komsomolets, where she spoke extensively on the roots and possible outcomes of the ongoing war. She reiterated that Moscow will not agree to any ceasefire proposal that fails to address what it sees as the fundamental causes behind the conflict, emphasizing that only addressing those concerns would bring lasting peace. Matviyenko also insisted that Russia would never accept any agreement that allows Kyiv to remain militarily armed or aligned with NATO forces after the fighting stops. Her statement comes at a time when US President Donald Trump has been actively pushing for a ceasefire, hoping to broker negotiations that could bring the conflict closer to resolution. Ukraine, meanwhile, has expressed support for what it calls the essence of Washington's proposed plan, suggesting cautious optimism about ending hostilities but only under clear and fair conditions. President Trump has also announced plans to send his special envoy to Moscow for direct talks with President Vladimir Putin, signaling renewed US engagement in pursuit of a possible peace initiative. For years, Moscow has accused Western nations of ignoring its security concerns and of waging what it calls a proxy war through Ukraine, using political, economic, and military pressure to challenge Russia's position. Russia has repeatedly cited NATO's eastward expansion and its growing military cooperation with Kyiv as the key reasons that led to the current conflict and tensions in the region. Interestingly, some Western officials themselves have also described the Ukraine conflict as a proxy war, acknowledging that the West's involvement indirectly pits it against Russia. Prominent figures such as Keith Kellogg and Senator Marco Rubio have openly used the phrase proxy war to describe the ongoing battle between Russia and Ukraine, highlighting the indirect confrontation between global powers.